Hello and welcome to this video instruction for my continued series on going through some of the kind of beginner to intermediate concepts with Microsoft Office Suite. And particularly this lesson we'll be using Microsoft PowerPoint 2016. And you should have the basics now, but we're going to build on that a little bit, and we're going to talk about that main part of our presentations, and that's what we see in the pictures, the shapes, and the ability to use WordArt into our presentation. Now, the presentation software is very intuitive, it's very easy. It's just getting to that point where you understand where things are at and how to use them and how they can enhance your presentation. Let's go ahead and jump right now into a presentation I built from a previous video tutorial in my series, and we will just continue to build on it and use some of the skills we've already learned and apply them in this situation. In this presentation I created and I used in a previous video, I'm going to add and manipulate that a little bit just to emphasize the concepts of enhancing our presentation with pictures and shapes and the use of WordArt. If I wanted to add another slide here, if you recall, I can either go up to the Home tab here, and I could click on that, and I could choose New Slide and pick from that. Or if I like this layout, I could just simply duplicate this slide by clicking on Copy in the Clipboard group here on our Home tab. Drop that down, duplicate, and the exact same slide is there. Now if I want to manipulate the second slide, I can do that. I can change the text. I can manipulate these graphics here. And these graphics are just shapes, but then I added a picture into the shape. So let's go ahead and take a look at what we could do with that. So we've got this triangle here. If I right click on this after selecting it, I can change the picture. If I change that, I can do from an existing file, I could use the Bing search engine, or if I've got one saved on my OneDrive in my cloud storage, I could use that. So I'm going to hit browse here for a local file, and let's just say I pick this image here. We'll just use number 1 here. Insert. Now the image has changed. The shape is the same, and I can use the handles here to enlarge that if I like, to widen it. Maybe I want to bring that down a little bit. I can manipulate the shape. I can do the same thing here. I can right click on this one. I can change the picture. I'll do another one for my file. Select number 2 here. And now I've changed just the overall feel because of the different colors here. And I can rotate this around just by grabbing the fill handles. If I like this and I wanted to duplicate that, I can copy and paste it. So I could Control C and Control V use my keyboard, or I can go up here to the clipboard group and select copy, and then I can paste. And now I've got a second one. So I could make one image out of 2 if I wanted. So I could straighten this up, grabbing the fill handle, rotating it. So let's just straighten that up a little bit. I'll do the same thing with the other one. I will completely rotate it. So I'll bring that here, put this one here. Say I'll separate this a little bit. I'll take this one, move it around, rotate it a little bit, put it between the two. And based on my handles, I can create an entirely new image just using the tools available. I could make this one image and just have to play around with the handles to get it to be the exact same size. Very artistic stuff we can do. You can manipulate these as much and however you want. I can add new shapes. I can do all kinds of things just to make the visual appearance or enhancement of my presentation and give it a completely different feel. And I didn't have to start from scratch. I'm using existing slides here in my presentation. And you can bring slides over from other presentations with copying and pasting them or importing them. Now let's say I decided, oh, this just looks stupid, I want to delete it. I can get rid of this whole slide just by simply clicking on the slide to make sure it's active and hitting the delete button. Or I could right click on the slide and you guessed it, delete slide, and it's gone. If I feel like I made a mistake, I can always go up here to the quick access toolbar and undo the deletion of my slides. Your placement of these can be changed as well. Let's just say on this slide I want to get rid of the text box here. That's gone. Let's say I bring my images over and I'll increase their size a little bit, change them around. And we can make some changes where, let's say I want this to be layered on top of the rest. I can make that option by my bringing that to the front. If I right click and then choose bring to front, now that image is on top of that one. And I can give it more of a layered approach where it looks like I've got these three items stacked on top of one another. Kind of gives you that 3D appeal. And of course I can add different shapes. If I want to add a different shape, I can do that and make different views. See, I can go up here into I can insert a shape, or on my picture tools format tab I can add more shapes. But let's just go and insert a new shape, and we will put that into our current slide. So I'm going to shape here, and let's just say we find one that appeals to us. I'm going to go ahead and select something very simple. I'm going to use a moon here, so I'll just select that. And then you're going to draw that onto your screen. Now I can change the colors of this. I've got my shape styles up here, this group. I can change the fill color. Lots I can do here. Let's just say we make a change. Instead of using this blue accent one, we'll give it a gray, 80% gray, lighter 50%. I still don't like that. Let's say I go back to my image and I want to bring an image. I can do that. I can do lots of things with this shape. I can right click on this and format my shape. Now I have options. Here is where I can add that picture, and I'll select that file. I'll use this moonish one here. Now it's filled. This makes a lot more sense and looks cooler than my original triangle. So we can manipulate so many different things. If I want to give it a different look and feel, if I didn't like this and I wanted a solid color, I could pick a solid color here. I could give it different colors, or I could do a gradient fill. I have all those options here. I can make the transparency level change so that I can partially see through this. So it gives it a whole nother look and feel. We can do so much artistic design using the tools that are built into our presentation software here. Well, let's say we take the picture here that we've gotten. We're like, I might want it to look just a little different. So I'm going to click the format button, make sure that tab is highlighted, and I can make some corrections with our built-in tools here. Let's say I go to the adjust group, corrections, and as you hover over an option, let's say we want to soften it a little bit, sharpen the image and soften it. That'll be kind of hard to do with this 4K image, but we can see slight changes occur in the background on our picture. You can see here, this one, if we select it, we're brightening and changing the contrast as well. You can see as I go further down here, I'm darkening it. Not really going to be able to see what that image looks like, so that's probably not the best choice, but it depends on what you're trying to do with your image. And as always, if you don't like it, you can always undo using the quick access toolbar. Say we have a shape on here we don't like, we can get rid of it. Just select it, hit delete, and it's gone. We have different picture styles we can apply as well. If we select this and we go to our format group, you'll see we have different picture styles. So as you hover over the picture, you will see changes to the shape, the border, things like that, and you can pick which one works for you. So if I drop this down a little bit, I'll see here's an oval one. you can see going from what I have to this beveled oval, that is a completely different look and feel, making this image completely different to the receiver, or those who are receiving this presentation and I'm delivering a message to. This picture just pops completely different to the individual. You can do some 3D changes too. We can add some beveling, and you can just, as you hover over these options, see how changes occur. If we want to make it a little bit deeper, we can do that. So if I want to change this depth to, let's say, something very big like 75, I can do that, and my image will, when I go to rotate that, will have a different look because of that 3D effect. Lots of things we can do here. Don't be afraid to toy around and make changes as you want to experiment. We can also add text to our shapes. So if I select this half moon here and I just start typing, let's just say moonwalking, you can see the text there. And now that text will stay with my shape whenever I move this around. I can change that text by simply just using my font tools. So if I want to make that a reddish color, I can click on that. I want to underline it, bold it, italicize. I can use all of these tools, increase the size of it. Let's take this up to 62. I'm going to widen the shape so that all the wording can be seen. You can change the font by going up here to the font group, and you can see how that font changes as I hover over those to see which one I really like. Then I click it and apply it. I can always make these changes and then go back if I don't like what I'm doing. So you can add text to your shapes and then manipulate that text once it's in there. Well, let's say I really like what I did with my text here, and I create another image here. Let's just say I'm going to add a new shape, and I don't know, we'll just pick an arrow here. Once you select it, bring your mouse down and make the shape that you want, and we will just type in here exercise program. Well, I really like what I did up here with the font color, the font type, the size, so I can use the format painter. So if I have this highlight, I can make this exercise program text look just like this moonwalking text. So we'll just select this text here with our mouse, format painter, and then you should be able to just click the object to apply those font settings to the area that you were wanting to put those to. So just make sure that you select format painter and then apply it by clicking on the item. So by clicking on one, I haven't left the text box. You can see it applied to it. Then I come over to the word exercise, and when I click with my mouse, left click on it, that gets applied as well. So I've applied the formatting to the text. I have consistency on my slide, so there's nothing distracting because I'm using the same font type, size, color, everything, so I'm not just distracting from the visual user. Even though this slide is crazy busy, I'm just demonstrating how to apply these tools. So now if I click out of that, now if I go to touch anything else, the painter has been disabled. You can also press the escape key to turn off the format painter feature when you're done. Let's say I'm not a big fan of the background of my slide anymore and I want to change that. I can do this by going up here to the design tab and selecting that. Once I'm in there, in the customize group here at the end, the format background group's there. You can also right click on the slide, just showing you the proper Microsoft way to get here. So if I click format, now I have the format background area pane open up, and now I can make changes to my background. And I can do like a picture or a text fill, or I can do a pattern if I want to change the overall look of this presentation. I could do a solid fill. I can make different shadings or different colors to apply to that. I can choose a gradient. However you want to do this, you can. If you have a image you want to use as the background, you can do that. I'll hit File here. I'll select this image here, hit insert, and now my background has changed. Let's see what that looks like just by itself. We're going to reuse some of the tools we've already used. So I'm going to click here, and I'll just take this slide. I want to put a background on this. So I'm going to, with this already selected, Picture, File, select that background, and there it is. But I see that I can't really see my words. I can change the font color or style, or I can also use the transparency feature to allow me to see through it better. You can see here, by making this adjustment, I can now see my text, but yet there's a stunning image in the background, but it's not overpowering my slide. And then you can just tweak that a little bit at a time to see what type of effects it has on your presentation. Or you could, obviously, if you take it all the way to the end, it's pointless. You are completely transparent and you can't see at all that you have some type of image in the background. So you can toy around with this as you like, but it's definitely, having those images in your background can help, but you want to make sure it's not distracting. And you're going to tweak it to what is most visually appealing as well as effective. Now let's finish up by talking about and showing what WordArt is. We're going to start with a whole new slide so that we're not distracted and we can see everything. And I will just clean this slide up. I'm going to remove everything off of it, and I can simply just select an item and remove it, or I can do a Control A and that will select all of the items that are on this current slide. Once they're all selected, hit the delete button and you can see everything goes away. Now if I go to present this, actually you're only going to see the background, as you can see there. Hit escape, now I'm back. If you're not actually putting text into these areas, nothing's going to show. But I'm going to delete all of the items permanently by selecting just the items, and they're gone. And let's just say I'm going to take this to a solid fill and it's white. Now I can do some other changes. However you want to do it. We can even do a solid fill of a light color if you want. And then we'll put our WordArt in there. So we're going to go to the Insert tab because we're going to insert WordArt. We're going to go to our text group, and there it is, WordArt. Select that. You can hover over these to see what you might like, and it kind of gives you the breakdown of how they're formatted. So I'm just going to select this. Now I can put my text in, and we will just put sample in here. There's our sample text. Well, right away you're like, oh, I can barely read that. Well, we can make changes to that. We can increase that. We're going to go up here to our home group. Let's just make that a much larger font. We'll go 96. That font style we don't really like. Let's say we want Arial Black, or we can choose some other one just by scrolling through and finding one that we really like. We'll use this one here. Let's say I want to go a little bit bigger. I can type that in and you can see the changes. Now we'll center this a little bit here so we can see it better. Now we don't have to stick with what's here. We can make changes. Hopefully you notice that we get the drawing tools pop up and the format tab for that. Now we can see that we have lots of options available to us. One such change we can make is in our WordArt styles grouping here, we have a text effects. If you drop that down, you will see that you can make lots of different changes. Let's say you want a 3D rotation. You could select 3D. We will choose this one here. Well, that completely changed the look of it. Maybe while we're there in our text effects, we maybe want to thicken it. Maybe we want to do lots of different changes. Maybe we don't like the color. Maybe we want to add a shadow reflection. Let's add a reflection. And you can see as I hover over it, it looks like we're sitting on top of glass because now we have a reflection of what we have here. Once again, it kind of gives us that 3D type feel. We can select it. We can change the properties of it. We can format that shape. We can go here to the effects. Let's make it a little bit thicker. And so we'll add some weight to it. And then we can also change the rotation. So if we look through our different options, we have lots of options here. If we want to add some weight here, some width, we can increase that. Bottom bevel, we can increase that. We can see that we are making changes. This depth, I'm going to change this to 20. We can even go much more drastic. Now we're just adding a little bit of beef to our text. Once again, this is something to just play around with so you can get a good feel for it. You can see how we changed the angle there and the rotation. You can make lots of changes. There we're going to completely flip it around. So don't be afraid to just go in here and see what each setting does as you're creating this, because you are going to find out what is much more appealing to your audience and how you're going to be able to effectively present your information while enhancing your images in WordArt. Just like if you don't like the color, you can change it. Change the outline. This shape fill, we want to change that. Let's have some shape fill. You can see that I can add this blueness that makes it a little bit more glossy and it makes it jump out a little bit more. The outline, you can change an outline. You can see that I'm changing this outline of this 3D box to different colors. So if you want to change your text color, make that change. Just jump in there and make sure you're applying all of this information so that the next time you want to use it, it's going to come much more naturally to you. And before you go to present though, make sure that you always go up here to the Review tab, select that here on your ribbon, and click on your spelling button to make sure for it to check. Make sure you don't have any silly little mistakes there. Do this every single time, because if you don't, you're going to feel silly when you're giving a presentation and everybody sees that you made some silly mistake. Once you're presenting, it's too late to make that change, so do it on the development side. If you recall, I talked about creating your speaker notes. If you have this selected, you'll see that you have a little note section. This can be changed as well, so you can drag that arrow up and down. Let's close this format shape box. You can add those notes, you know, blah blah blah. Then when you are presenting, no one sees this. They don't see your notes. They see what's on the screen. So if I hit slideshow, no one sees my blah 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 notes. Those are on the other screen that only I as the presenter can. So since they can't see it, they don't know what's coming up next. Make sure you use those notes. Now if you want to present a note sheet to be able for your audience to take notes, you can do that by simply going to the backstage view, going up here to the file button, clicking file, you're going to print, and then you are going to go here to your settings, your slides, drop this down and select the notes pages, and you can see that there are our speaker notes if you think your audience needs that, but they can also take notes as well on the white space that you're giving them. Now if you're giving handouts for your presentation, you could also choose to have a certain amount of slides on the printout. So if I want my audience to see smaller versions of this and I'm going to put 3 slides from my presentation onto each sheet, I can click that and you can see I've got lines over here where my audience can take notes while I'm giving the presentation, but they can also relate back later when they are away from the presentation, say, oh, okay, this slide was about this because I remember the visual and here's the information I took while writing. So that's another great feature here to be able to show off what you've done and let your readers or your audience take something back that was important and they're going to remember it because they took those physical notes. It's up to you whether you present your audience with copies of your slides or not. Just know your audience and what's expected. That is it for this lesson on using Microsoft PowerPoint 2016 and taking your presentation and adding more to it with your pictures and your shapes and WordArt and being able to manipulate all that for that visual appeal. I hope you enjoyed this information. I know it's a lot, but there's a lot that you can do in using this presentation software provided from Microsoft Office Suite known as Microsoft PowerPoint. Enjoy practicing these skills. Thank you for following along, and I hope that you continue to practice and apply more and more to your own presentations so that they come much more smoothly when you're expected to create one. Thanks everyone. Have a great day.